Why I regret moving into a nursing home. 6 hard truths you must know. Chapter 1. Losing independence, the slow fade of control. It wasn't the move itself that hurt. It was what it represented. That moment marked the beginning of a life no longer mine to control. For nearly 7 decades, I had lived by my own rules, waking up when I wanted, drinking coffee barefoot in my pajamas, deciding whether to answer the phone or let it ring. But the second I stepped through the doors of the nursing home, all of that changed. I thought I was moving somewhere safe. Somewhere people would take care of me, so I wouldn't have to worry anymore. What I didn't realize is that with safety comes surrender. And once you give up control, it's nearly impossible to get it back. Thought balloon a life once lived freely. Before the nursing home, my days were mine. I woke up to the sound of birds outside my window, not an alarm clock. I brewed my own coffee, strong and black, just how I liked it, and sat at the kitchen table reading the newspaper while my cat, Muffin, curled up beside me. I dressed how I wanted. No matching socks, no uniforms. Some days, I wore a dress. Other days, my late husband's old flannel shirt because it still smelled like him. I cooked meals for myself, sometimes elaborate, sometimes simple, but always on my terms. I could decide if I wanted pancakes for dinner or cereal for lunch. No one told me when to eat or what to wear or who I could visit. And more than anything, I made choices, big and small, that reminded me I was still alive, still capable, still me. But then came the fall. Stethoscope, the fall that changed everything. One icy morning last winter, I slipped on the porch steps while bringing in the mail. I landed hard on my hip, and though I managed to crawl back inside, I knew something was wrong. My daughter rushed over, and after a trip to the ER and a few weeks of rehab, the doctor looked me in the eye and said, "You can't live alone anymore." He said it gently, but those words hit harder than the ice beneath my feet. It wasn't just about my hip, it was about trust. Trust in my body, trust in my ability to make decisions, and most of all, trust in my independence. So we started looking at facilities. We visited 3 different homes, all clean, all well-staffed. One even had a nice garden where residents could sit in the sun. They showed us the dining room, the activity center, the weekly bingo nights. But nowhere did they show me where I could be me. Or the day I moved in. Moving day arrived faster than I expected. Boxes were packed, furniture sold or donated, and suddenly I was standing in a small bedroom that smelled faintly of disinfectant and loneliness. There was a bed, a dresser, a chair, and a small closet. The walls were white. The curtains were thin, and there was no cat waiting for me. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, thinking, this is it? This is where I'll spend the rest of my life. A nurse came in later that evening and handed me a clipboard. "Here's your schedule," she said with a smile. "Dinner is at 5:30 sharp. Lights out at 9 p.m. Let us know if you need help getting ready for bed." I nodded, pretending to understand. But inside, I felt like I had been assigned a role in someone else's play without being given the script. Repeat button, the loss of small choices. At first, I tried to hold on. I kept my old habits. I got up early, brushed my teeth slowly, folded my clothes neatly. But soon, I realized that even the smallest things were now dictated by someone else. I couldn't choose what time I ate. Breakfast was served from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. If I missed it, I waited until lunch. I couldn't pick my outfit. There was no closet full of options, just a few items neatly hung or folded. And every morning, a staff member would ask, "Would you like to wear this today?" As if giving me a choice, but really just offering 2 options. I couldn't walk outside whenever I wanted. The garden was open only during certain hours, and if I wanted to go alone, I had to sign a form saying I understood the risks. I couldn't even decide when to use the bathroom. Sometimes, I'd wait for a nurse to come help me, just so I could go safely. These weren't big rebellions, just tiny moments of autonomy that suddenly became battles. Brain emotional toll of losing control. What surprised me most wasn't the physical changes, it was the emotional ones. I began to feel invisible, like I was being cared for, yes, but not truly seen. People spoke to me like I was fragile. They asked if I needed help before I even asked for it. They assumed I was confused or tired or sad. And maybe I was. Because losing control isn't just about schedules and routines. It's about identity. It's about feeling like you matter. It's about knowing that your voice still has weight. When every decision is made for you, you start to wonder, do I still matter? Bar chart real-life examples and studies. I'm not alone in feeling this way. In fact, studies have shown that loss of independence is one of the most common regrets among nursing home residents. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Aging and Social Policy found that over 60% of long-term care residents reported feeling a loss of personal control, which directly correlated with increased feelings of depression and anxiety. Another survey by the National Consumer Voice for Quality Long-Term Care revealed that nearly half of elderly residents felt their opinions were rarely considered when decisions about their daily lives were made. One resident, an 82-year-old former librarian named Doris, shared, "They treat me like I've lost my mind just because I'm old. I used to manage an entire library. Now I can't even decide what shoes to wear without someone checking if they're safe." And these aren't just complaints, they're cries for dignity. Speech balloon questions to reflect on. As I write this, I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm simply sharing the truth. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home or helping a loved one do so, ask yourself these questions. Am I ready to give up making my own choices? Will I still feel like me in this new environment? Is convenience worth the cost of freedom? Can I find another way to stay safe without sacrificing independence? These are hard questions, but they're important ones. Seedling a glimmer of hope. Even in the darkest corners of this experience, there are lessons to be learned. I've met others here who found ways to reclaim pieces of themselves. Some grow plants in the hallway. Others teach art classes. A few write letters to strangers just to feel connected. And me? I write this story, not just for myself, but for you. Because growing old doesn't mean you have to stop living. And moving into a nursing home shouldn't mean giving up everything that made you you. And arrow final thoughts. Losing independence is not a sudden event, it's a slow erosion. 1,000 tiny cuts disguised as kindness. A gradual fading of control masked as care. But awareness is power. By understanding what we stand to lose, we can make better choices. We can advocate for ourselves. We can demand environments that honor our humanity, not just our health. So if you're considering a nursing home, don't rush. Take your time. Ask questions. Visit. Talk to residents. Listen to their stories. Because once you cross that threshold, going back might not be possible. And if you're already inside, know that you're not alone. Your feelings are real. Your memories of freedom are valid. And your voice still matters, even if no one seems to be listening. Chapter 2. Feeling forgotten when love turns into distance. The first month, they came every weekend. By the third month, it was once a month. Now, sometimes weeks pass without a call. I used to be the center of their world, the one who baked cookies for birthdays, who kept family traditions alive, who remembered every anniversary and celebrated every small victory. But now I'm just another name on a list of people to visit when we have time. And the worst part isn't that they don't come anymore. It's that I understand why. Thought balloon a life once surrounded by love. Before the nursing home, my house was always full. My children would drop by after work with stories from their day. My grandchildren ran through the halls like wild horses, laughing so hard they'd fall over themselves. There were holidays filled with music, dinners that lasted for hours, and late-night talks where no topic was off-limits. Even when I lived alone, I never felt lonely. I had neighbors who waved as they passed, friends who called just to say hello, and a calendar full of little plans, coffee dates, church meetings, gardening club. But then came the move. At first, everyone promised they'd stay close. My daughter said she'd visit at least twice a week. My son-in-law offered to bring dinner on Sundays. The grandkids even made me a card saying, "Don't worry, Grandma. We'll still see you all the time." And for a while, they did. The first few weekends were packed. They brought flowers, homemade meals, and photos from their lives. We laughed, cried, and talked about everything under the sun. But slowly, things changed. Calendar the slow fade of visits. It started subtly. A Sunday missed because of a soccer game. Then a week skipped due to work stress. Eventually, visits became phone calls, then texts, then silence. One day, I realized I hadn't seen my youngest granddaughter in 6 months. I didn't blame them. Life is busy. Work, school, kids, responsibilities, they pull people away without warning. But that didn't stop the ache inside. You see, when you're old, your body slows down, but your heart doesn't. You still want to be needed, to be remembered, to feel like you matter. But when the visits stop coming, it's easy to wonder if you've already been forgotten. brain emotional toll of being left behind. This isn't just about missing family. It's about the emotional toll of being left behind. You start questioning whether you're a burden. You wonder if they're tired of seeing you stuck in the same place, wearing the same clothes, living the same day over and over again. You ask yourself, am I still worth visiting? Am I still interesting? Do they think I'm just waiting to die? These thoughts creep in quietly. At first, you brush them off. But soon, they become louder than your own voice. And the worst part? There's no one to talk to about it. Because how do you tell someone you love them, but also tell them you miss them more than words can say? How do you admit that every holiday without them feels like a piece of your heart is missing? Open book real-life stories that mirror mine. I'm not the only one who feels this way. In fact, many residents here share the same quiet sadness. Take Helen, an 84-year-old former nurse who used to run marathons before her knees gave out. Her daughter lives 2 states away and visits once a year, if she can get time off work. Every time she leaves, Helen told me, I feel like I'm watching a piece of my life walk out the door, and I don't know when or if it'll ever come back. Or James, a retired teacher whose wife passed away last year. His sons live across the country, and his grandchildren are growing up fast. He keeps a photo album next to his bed and flips through it daily. Sometimes I pretend they're just away at college, he said. Other times, I wonder if they even remember what I look like. And there's Doris, the librarian I mentioned earlier. She used to host Thanksgiving every year, cooking enough food to feed an army. Now, she eats alone in her room while the staff watches football nearby. They mean well, she says. But no amount of kindness can replace the sound of your own family laughing around the table. Bar chart what the research says. Unfortunately, these stories aren't rare. According to a 2023 study published in the Journal of Gerontology, more than 40% of nursing home residents receive fewer than 4 visits per year from family members, and nearly 20% report receiving no visits at all. Another survey conducted by the University of California, San Francisco found that social isolation among nursing home residents significantly increases the risk of depression, cognitive decline, and even early mortality. The numbers don't lie. Percent of residents visited monthly, 35%. Percent of residents who feel forgotten, 61%. Percent who say visits dropped after 3 months, 72%. Percent who reported feeling isolated, 58%. These aren't just statistics, they're real people. People who gave everything to raise families, build careers, and create memories, only to find themselves alone in their final years. Speech balloon questions to reflect on. If you're reading this and thinking about moving into a nursing home, or helping someone you love make that decision, ask yourself these questions. Will I still feel connected to the people I love? Is distance going to turn into silence? Can I handle the possibility of becoming an afterthought? Are there other ways to stay safe without sacrificing closeness? These are difficult questions to face, but they're necessary, because love should never mean goodbye. It should mean presence, touch, voice, time. And once those moments slip away, they rarely return. Seedling finding meaning in the silence. Despite the loneliness, some of us have found ways to fill the void. Some write letters, even if they're never sent. Others join group activities, finding new friends in unlikely places. Some adopt pets from local shelters. One woman here even started a pen pal program with high school students. And me? I write these words, not just for myself, but for you, so you won't make the same mistake I did. So you'll understand that moving into a nursing home doesn't just change your address, it changes your relationships. And once those relationships begin to fade, it's hard to bring them back. End arrow final thoughts. Being forgotten doesn't happen all at once. It starts with a missed visit, then another, then a text instead of a call, then silence. And suddenly, the people you loved most are living their lives somewhere far away, and you're left wondering if they still think of you at all. But here's the truth. You are still worthy of love, of connection, of attention. And just because the visits have stopped doesn't mean your story has ended. It just means it's time to write the next chapter.